In the high-stakes arena of American politics, some hearings are forgotten by the next news cycle. But others become a line in the history books. This is the story of one such hearing, a day that would shatter a powerful reputation and redefine the meaning of accountability. The room fell silent as Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett entered the chamber. Her sharp, navy blue pantsuit was a stark contrast to the warm, polished wood of the committee dais. Across the room, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo sat at the witness table, his face already flushed from earlier exchanges. He was a man accustomed to power, a former CIA director and top diplomat known for his unyielding confidence. But today was different. What happened in the next hour would send shockwaves across the nation. Just moments before, Pompeo's voice had boomed through the chamber, dismissing his questioners. He had called the proceedings a baseless political spectacle, his fist pounding the table for emphasis. The outburst sent murmurs rippling through the public gallery. But Congresswoman Crockett, a Harvard-educated lawyer and former civil rights attorney from Texas, remained eerily calm. She had been preparing for this moment for months. While Pompeo continued his tirade, believing his experience and political shield would protect him, Crockett waited. She knew the truth wasn't in the loudest voice, but in the most compelling evidence. Mike Pompeo had arrived with the swagger of a man who had always emerged from hostile questioning unscathed. A West Point graduate and former CIA chief, he was being touted in some circles as a future presidential candidate. His recent memoir painted a picture of a tough-talking patriot who never backed down. The hearing was supposed to be routine, an oversight meeting on foreign policy. But rumors had been circulating for weeks. Whispers of concerning activities during his tenure, though without concrete proof, they had gained little traction. Across the aisle sat Congresswoman Crockett. Though relatively new to Congress, she had quickly earned a reputation for being meticulously prepared. Her legal mind was a dangerous weapon against witnesses who relied on evasion and bluster. For weeks, she had been working quietly with a team of investigators and individuals who had come forward with troubling information. Unlike previous attempts to hold Pompeo accountable, this time, there was a paper trail. Internal documents, memos, and directives that had been properly reviewed and cleared for discussion. The stakes were monumental. If the documents Crockett possessed were authenticated, they wouldn't just end a political career, they could expose a serious breach of procedure at the highest levels of government. The gentlewoman from Texas is recognized for 5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Secretary Pompeo, I'd like to direct your attention to March of 2018, and an initiative known as Operation Midnight Horizon. Are you familiar with it? Congresswoman, as you well know, I cannot discuss classified operations in an open setting. I understand that concern, Mr. Secretary. However, specific portions related to this operation have been cleared for discussion through official channels. I am referring only to those cleared aspects. For the record, this is Declassification Order 2024, J103, signed by the current CIA Director. It permits discussion of certain elements of Operation Midnight Horizon in this specific congressional setting. Pompeo glanced at the document, his confidence seeming to waver for a split second. I'm not in a position to verify that document's authenticity here and now. The committee has verified it. So, let me ask again, were you aware of Operation Midnight Horizon? I was aware of many operations. Without access to files I no longer possess, I cannot recall every codename. Then let me refresh your memory. Operation Midnight Horizon involved surveillance activities in 3 allied European nations without their knowledge or consent. Activities that potentially violated specific executive orders and international agreements. Does that help your recollection? Congresswoman, you are venturing into very complex territory. Intelligence work requires difficult decisions made in the interest of national security. So, you do recall the operation? I am saying that hypothetically, certain situations require extraordinary measures. Mr. Secretary, I am not asking hypothetically. I am asking specifically about an operation you personally authorized. Pompeo's patience was visibly thinning. The political theater he was accustomed to was not going according to script. Congresswoman, I have sat through many of these hearings. This line of questioning seems designed for political points, not substantive oversight. Let's try a different approach, then. Are you familiar with a CIA officer named Thomas Reeves? I worked with many dedicated officers. I don't recall every name without context. Mr. Reeves served as Deputy Chief of European Operations under your leadership. He directly oversaw Midnight Horizon. On December 12, 2018, did you receive a memorandum from him expressing serious concerns about the legal parameters of this operation? It states, and I quote, "The current surveillance parameters exceed legal authorization under both U.S. law and existing agreements with allied nations. I formally request immediate review." Did you receive this memo, Mr. Secretary? The gallery erupted in whispers. Pompeo's attorney leaned in, whispering urgently. This was no longer a debate about memory, it was a direct confrontation with documented evidence. I need a moment to confer with counsel. After a brief, heated consultation, Pompeo returned to the microphone, his earlier bravado replaced by a defensive posture. I may have received such a memo among thousands of others. If I did, it would have been reviewed by the appropriate legal staff. And what action did you take upon receiving these legal concerns? Any operational concerns would have been addressed through the proper channels. What I have just shared with the committee is a directive you signed, dated December 15, 2018, just 3 days after Mr. Reeves' warning memo. In it, you personally authorized the expansion of the very activities he had flagged as potentially exceeding legal limits. Where did you get that? That appears to be highly classified information. As I stated, Mr. Secretary, these materials have been properly cleared for this hearing. This is outrageous. You are taking isolated documents completely out of context to create a false narrative. You have no idea the threats we faced. No idea the critical intelligence this provided. The chair's gavel banged repeatedly. The secretary will control himself. But Pompeo was beyond listening, pointing an accusatory finger at Crockett. This is nothing but a political hit job. You're afraid because I might run for office. In that moment, the carefully constructed image of the unflappable statesman had evaporated, replaced by the raw anger of a man cornered. And as the room held its breath, Congresswoman Crockett was about to reveal that this was only the beginning. The thin folder on her desk contained secrets that would not just question his judgment, but dismantle his entire defense. The room was holding its breath. Secretary Pompeo's explosive outburst had revealed a man on the defensive, his confidence shaken. But for Congresswoman Crockett, this was not the end of the confrontation. It was the moment she would reveal the full, devastating truth. Through the tense silence, Congresswoman Crockett's voice was measured, cutting through the residual anger like a laser. Mr. Secretary, no one in this room doubts the existence of threats to our nation. What is in doubt is whether proper legal procedures were followed. But since you've raised the issue of context, let us provide exactly that. I have here the full, official operational review of Operation Midnight Horizon, completed 6 months after your expansion order. Would you like to know what it concluded about the actual intelligence value of the surveillance you authorized against our allies? Pompeo said nothing. The fight seemed to have drained out of him, replaced by a dreading curiosity. The review concludes, and I quote directly, "The expanded surveillance activities yielded no actionable intelligence of significant value to national security interests. The most valuable intelligence was obtained solely through the originally authorized components of the operation. So, you expanded an operation against legal advice, for no tangible intelligence gain. But that, Mr. Secretary, is not the most troubling part of this story. What is truly concerning is what happened to those who dared to raise the alarm. What happened to Mr. Thomas Reeves after he submitted his memo questioning your directives?" She pulled out another document. Weeks after submitting his concerns, Mr. Reeves, a 20-year veteran of the CIA, fluent in 5 European languages, and previously rated as one of the most effective operations managers in the European division, was reassigned. He was moved from European operations to a desk job analyzing agricultural reports from Kazakhstan. Murmurs swept the room. Personnel assignments are made based on the needs of the agency. Was analyzing wheat production the agency's greatest need for a top European operations manager? Or was it a message to others who might consider speaking up? This pattern, Mr. Secretary, is undeniable. I have documented cases of 3 other CIA officials who raised legal or ethical concerns about operations during your tenure. All 3 experienced abrupt reassignments, negative performance reviews, or saw their careers stagnate shortly after voicing their concerns. This suggests a systemic pattern of retribution. The room was now completely captivated. This was no longer about one operation, it was about the abuse of power and the silencing of dissent. But let us return to the legalities. On January 28, 2019, you received an official analysis from the CIA's own General Counsel. It stated, and I quote, "The expanded parameters authorized on December 15 likely exceed existing legal authorities and may constitute a breach of agreements with allies." And the very next day, you signed a directive, continuing the operation unchanged. Can you explain why you disregarded this direct legal counsel from your own top lawyer? Before he could form a response, she delivered the final blow. I have your written response to that legal analysis right here. You wrote, "Legal concerns noted, but overridden due to critical intelligence requirements. Continue as directed." She passed the paper to him. The camera zoomed in on his handwritten initials at the bottom. "Are these your initials, Mr. Secretary?" Pompeo stared, his attorney whispering frantically in his ear. After a long, painful pause, he looked up, defeated. "It appears to be my handwriting. Thank you." But the consequences of these actions extended far beyond internal memos. The damage to our national security was real and documented. She held up the final paper from her folder. "This is a transcript from a meeting with the Allied nations after they discovered our unauthorized surveillance. The intelligence chief of one of our closest allies stated, 'This breach of trust has set our cooperation back years. We cannot share sensitive intelligence with partners who spy on us.'" She let the devastating quote hang in the air. "So, let us summarize. You authorized activities your lawyer said were likely illegal. You reassigned officials who objected. You caused severe damage to critical intelligence relationships. And you did all this for an operation that, according to the CIA's own review, produced no significant intelligence value. This isn't a partisan issue, Mr. Secretary. This is a fundamental breach of trust and the rule of law. Perhaps you would prefer to hear it directly from those involved. The committee has secured testimony from Mr. Thomas Reeves and 2 other former CIA officials involved in this operation. They are prepared to testify under oath." Pompeo's attorney immediately requested a recess. The hearing was gavelled into a temporary halt, but the story was already exploding into the world. In that moment, the political world shifted. News alerts blared across the nation. The meticulously crafted image of Mike Pompeo, the tough-talking patriot, had been dismantled piece by piece with irrefutable evidence. The fallout was swift and severe. Within days, the House Judiciary Committee announced a formal investigation. Pompeo's scheduled speeches were cancelled. Political allies distanced themselves. The buzz around his potential presidential run turned into a silent hum of disgrace. 2 weeks later, the Justice Department confirmed it was opening a preliminary review. The man who once seemed untouchable was now facing the possibility of legal consequences. In the aftermath, Congresswoman Crockett emphasized the core principle at stake. This was never about ending a career. It was about upholding a simple principle. In the United States, no one is above the law. The rules apply to everyone, regardless of their position or power. Our system depends on that accountability. The revelation sparked a reckoning far beyond one man's career. It led to bipartisan bills to strengthen whistleblower protections. It forced intelligence agencies to review their internal procedures for handling legal concerns. A year later, a comprehensive, bipartisan commission confirmed all the essential facts Crockett had presented, leading to concrete reforms for greater transparency and oversight. Mike Pompeo largely retreated from public life, his political ambitions a memory, his legacy permanently reshaped by that single hearing. The confrontation between Crockett and Pompeo became more than a political showdown. It became a watershed moment, a powerful reminder that when evidence is presented methodically and courageously, truth can hold even the most powerful to account. It reinforced that the integrity of our institutions depends not on blind loyalty, but on vigilant oversight and the courage to speak truth to power. The pursuit of accountability is essential to a healthy democracy. If you want to see more deep dives into the moments that define our political landscape and the people who fight to uphold the law, then hit the like button and subscribe to the channel right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss our breaking analysis. We break down the facts so you can understand the stakes. The next chapter in American politics is unfolding every day, and we'll be here to explain it all. Thanks for watching.